use it later.
I think people have done that.
Which I'm sure they have. Like, I'm sure you can. But in any case, he could be recording it as well, like on an audio file like this, and have it going through the computer, so it's also capturing it through that and whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, I guess a lot of it, I was like, the way he was describing, I was like, oh, it's totally doable because we do a lot of things like that. But it made me think as well, like that's not real common knowledge either of like utilizing a lot of those, like record, like if just doing like interviews and getting it recorded at the same time and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, there's still like some barriers to it. Like it's not super easy, which also makes me think like, it's a good thing. Like it's opportunity there, I guess, because it's available to us, but not to some other people.
Okay.
That's a new shirt as well.
Yeah, there's just one of the Apprentice collection.
Legacy.
Same with the short. Legacy.
With an I.
Panda.
Legacy with a Y or an I?
Yeah,
Legacy with a Y. Okay, it's like an I. Fuck, what are we talking
Panda,
about this one today?
Panda. Fuck, I don't know.
Are you running this one?
No.
Holy shit. I don't remember what it is. I don't have no notes.
I took... My notes consist of... that. Those lines just there.
Holy shit, I have nothing.
Ding, ding, ding.
Nah, I've got a couple of things. Well, no, not really. But this was an easy one to talk about.
Yeah, agreed. That's why I sort of didn't take much. I was like, I can pretty much just going to wing this. All right, so I think we should be going live right just now. Let me do the posts that I normally do. So there's the... Hold up.
Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. Put myself to sleep.
Did you see the chat I was having with Joey and Liam in the...
I saw some messages going over because I haven't had a chance to actually look into it.
Yeah, we're just making fun of Joey, really. The classic. Poor Joey. Why is he so useless? All right, let's get this. I got a message. I never get a message. Who messaged me? Oh, it was Kyle.
Did you answer all the Instagram messages that came through for you as well?
For what?
On Mere Models.
What?
I saw a few. And I just...
Probably not. Probably not. All right, that one can go there. I can bring this one up. I'm going to send my brother another message. Last week, he forgot. That was his reason for not joining. Even though I messaged him 6 minutes beforehand, he forgot.
Damn.
So I'll do it right now.
Right now. Be like,
and he said, I will not miss it this time, but I'll do it just in case. What's on my clipboard? Did you eat with Jimmy?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Wasn't like a super long one.
No. Yeah, because you came back way earlier than I thought you would.
Yeah, we were only there for a little bit. Like not a ton load of time.
Yeah.
So
how doomed is he?
You did reply. You replied to the books I read daily.
Nastia.
Yeah.
Coolies. All right, I'm just going to wait another minute.
And Dean.
Oh man, I was having this trippy moment. I don't think it was him.
Dean.
Yeah, because he's a dude he's the guy I bought my first ever NFT from.
Yes.
Random Cardano guy, who I met at the big one that they had last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of looked like him in the gym, but it looked imagine if you saw someone I think he was sort of like a stocky fella anyway.
Yeah.
But imagine that stockiness has been transformed into beast mode sort of thing. And so there was this guy at the gym and I was like, man, that looks like Dean, but I don't remember him being freaking jacked. Like just...
Yeah, like that jacked.
Just big, really, really big and just sort of, hulking around. Sort of guy who just, no matter what weight anyone's doing on bench, like he'd be able to just curl it sort of thing.
Gotcha.
Like, damn. Where'd all this come from? I don't think it was him, but I'll ask him. Hopefully, I'll see him on Wednesday. And
Well, you'll see him on Wednesday, and he'll be like completely jacked. And be like, "What the hell?"
Well, there's the thing. It's winter, so everyone kind of looks jacked when they've got some
true.
Like jumpers and stuff on. Yeah. All right, you ready to run this thing, my friend?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Actually, I should just check beforehand that I can actually hear us and that things are coming through. Yeah. Sounds good. All right, here we go, man.
Let's do it.
Real can be mortals.
Yeah, I like that change up.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Mere Mortalites, to another edition of the Mere Mortals podcast. We got Musings today. You've got your hosts, Juan,
Karen here.
Karen on the other side, and we are live. If you're on YouTube, if you're listening to this right now live, then welcome. If you're not listening to it live and you're listening to it a little bit later on, that's all right too as well.
I would just say I do publish it 2 days later. So if you're like, man, I love the Mere Mortals. Well, if you want this episode 2 days earlier, you have to listen to it live on YouTube or go to the recording on YouTube. So
Or on Spotify. Well, I mean, as in like if you want to just listen to it later on, 2 days later, you listen to it on Spotify.
Well, I mean like earlier. If you want to get to it earlier,
yes,
you have to go to YouTube.
Yeah. How long are we away from lives on things like Fountain and the like? Do you feel?
Look, you can do it. You can already do it with certain apps. So I believe Podverse on the phone, you can. Curocaster on the phone, I'm not so sure. Definitely on the desktop, because I've used it then. So those two definitely. Fountain up. Like honestly, I don't know if Oscar's going to go down that route. I hope so because it makes sense.
That would be good. Yeah.
But the biggest detractor is actually us. Me being able to do that technically it's a
particular level.
It's hard, and I'm not sure.
We're not super technical. We're not super technical. Me and Mortalites out there. Well, one thing that I was thinking before we kick into the musings today was like perhaps running a Twitter live and just like sitting a phone somewhere.
Yeah, if you want.
Remember we were doing that once upon a time with Instagram Live, and we were like, okay, we're not going to do it like that. So, anyways, we'll play around with it. But today's musings,
I'll set it up while you're
there we go. Yeah. But today's musings, folks, is going to be all around food. And today's session might not be super long, but why it came into my mind was I am at the precipice of another annual year. Yeah, the precipice of another annual year. And I'm not going to give too much away because I'll talk about it much more on annual goals and the like. But there's some longer term thinking that's coming into play now for me. It's a longer term play thinking. So I thought, well, I'll reflect back on some food conversations and thoughts because we do have quite different views when it comes to foods, the way that we eat, maybe the way we might do it for nutrition in the future, etc. But I wanted to baseline it for me and Mortalites at home, for them to understand, like really, when we talk about food and meal prepping and all that sort of stuff, where it actually falls in line for us.
Yep.
And I was going to ask you, from the enjoyment of food, of like eating food, and I'm not saying you eating food with family members or friends or somebody else. This is the pure
taste
food
or aromatic.
Yeah. From one being, don't give an absolute shit. I just have to eat it purely to consume the nutrients, the calories, whatever it may be. Not really caring how it tastes, how you consume it, or when you get it, just whatever. To 10 being, it's going to be absolutely pristine flavoring. You'll go the extra mile for the right ingredients, the right food, the right spices, etc.
Yes.
Where do you rank yourself 1 to 10?
I'll just throw it out and be 4, I think. I think my capacity to enjoy it is diminished. So one, I don't think I have the palate to be able to actually enjoy the foods that, it depends. If you're talking about individual enjoyment, how much I actually enjoy it compared to the other things I can do in life, then it's probably closer to a 7. But in terms of my capacity to enjoy it compared to other people, I think it's diminished. I think I know my sense of smell is weak. That's been a common one. And I'm not, like different types of spices and different things like that. I don't taste it. Like, there's master chefs.
I know what you're saying.
I noticed you got a hint of rosemary in that one.
You're like,
I'd have no idea. It's
no idea. Salty.
Is this
bitter?
meat?
It's like salty, bitter, the high level. And look, so I guess I'd probably then push it up a little bit higher in to say you do find some enjoyment in food.
Yeah,
There's
I
enjoyment in
look, I
food,
definitely enjoyed. So in that sense, probably a 7.
but you're not going to add cilantro or a slight, hint of paprika to give it that extra flavor. You're like, okay, cool. This is the flavor. Cheese, meat. Whatever.
Brendan has this huge thing that he goes on about when he's cooking meat. And he goes, you have to, put it in the pan and you have to rub in the salt and you cook it in this way and you preheat and that. I'm not going to do that.
Not going to do that. And look, me, what else? I'm not going to do that either. And I would actually put myself even lower than Karen. So I think I'd be...
This is true.
Whatever you're thinking Karen is, I'm probably like 1 or 2 points even below that. So, and I used to be way below that. Like I'd probably say used to be a 2 or a 3.
Yeah,
Maybe
okay.
it's like a 4 or a 5 now. It depends on the day. But, for me, it used to be absolutely all about, man, I will just go ahead and consume like rice, the chicken, and I would just be purely thinking about protein and carbs and fats and calories, not even micronutrients. I'd just be like, whatever the high level things is, that's all I'm going to be caring about. Now that's slowly changing for me.
Okay.
So I'm not that I care about getting to an 8 or a 9. I don't care about that the enjoyment increases, but I have started to transition my food and my eating plans to be more so along the lines of, okay, I want to be healthy. I want to be healthy, and I want to be healthy and, let's just say, able to move the right ways and feel like I'm at a movable person at 100 or maybe older. And okay, there's some aspects of food has to play a part in that. So for me, and then I wanted to ask you now, future-wise, so to that rating that you gave yourself,
Yeah.
do you ever care about increasing that rating to any other higher level? Or, second question, how do you start thinking about, okay, based on, we've talked about food before in this podcast, based on kind of like what you've learned, you've been doing 1 meal a day for a really long time. What do you see the future of food looking like for you if you've planned it out?
I had a similar question for you. One, so definitely, let's talk about the future and especially the way I eat. So for those who don't know, like Juan mentioned, I'm a OMAD, 1 meal a day. I
haven't heard that term in so long.
Yeah.
That used to be like a big term a long time ago.
Sure. I go through phases. People are like, intermittent fasting is the best thing ever.
Get in it.
You know, fats. You got to get all the fats. Shit like that. I don't particularly follow it because I hadn't even heard of that and I was already doing it. And then I went, oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's kind of
what I'm doing.
So it was more a lifestyle thing. I think that will change because with the way I kind of imagine my future being, I think I'll have, a family and things like that. I think that makes it hard. That, having a girlfriend and a wife, they want to do things. They want to go to places. Having a family, you're literally going to go to family events and things like that. I was telling my brother this the other day because he's being very kind of strict with his food now, or at least watching it a lot more. And I was saying, it's so hard to go to a restaurant with other people and not eat because you make them feel bad. He was noticing the same. He would make his friends feel bad. They wouldn't want to eat if he's not eating, sort of thing.
Well, there's a level of enjoyment of sharing in food, and if you go with another person or human to, not even has to be eating, it can be like any sort of enjoyment, perhaps like going to watch a movie, or like someone wants to go to the cinema, the 3 of them, and one might go, actually, I don't watch movies because of whatever reason, your eyes get hurt after like 2 hours. You guys go, I'll just sit out here and wait for you. It's just kind of like, there's like a level of enjoyment that decreases
For sure.
because you want them to partake in it as well.
It's you showing you're willing to be part of the greater whole, the greater good.
Greater good.
Yeah, check out our next episode to
Of
learn
meanderings.
more about the greater good. So, I would definitely say that will change in the future in terms of the actual eating. What I hope is I actually have a wife or girlfriend who can cook better than I can. So
Well, that won't be hard for either of us, dude. That won't be hard for either of us.
Well, yeah, it depends, man. I think I'm okay when I spend the time and effort doing it, but man, the actually doing that, I've got other priorities at the moment.
Of course, yeah.
What I would imagine is, I could see myself being a bit more like explorative, going to restaurants perhaps, getting the enjoyment of the process of going out and eating new food and the ambience of this new place. Oh, this is by the river. Oh, this is in, a sex dungeon. Oh, this one's eating off a rock in the middle of nowhere. All that sort of stuff.
Different things, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, but that's like the ambience of food, not the food itself. which
True,
is fine.
true.
Which I think is fine. I think so. For my upcoming birthday, one of the things I want to do with my family in food, and this goes to the future of food and what I want to do with food. I definitely, as you say with your brother, I was definitely in that stage where food was purely about nutrition. Get it in. It's about training. It's about timing as fast as possible. Doesn't have to be heated up. I used to eat like almost frozen like rice in the middle of a university, like a big box of rice, and just eat that. With, like literally chipping away at it, like smacking it to get the rice off a frozen like block and eating it. That's the level of stuff I would be doing.
There was a period I remember when you would come back from a place with either a full roast chicken, or just a full loaf of bread. And you'd just eat it. Nothing else.
Yeah. So there's like some mad.
I could do for a piece or two of bread. Yeah, hell yeah. Bread just on its own is fine. A full loaf. It
was just, it's hardcore. And then even more that called it out to me was of the passing of time is I'm back again at a workplace that I've worked a couple of times.
Yeah.
And someone who's seen me in the past as well a couple of times, they saw me eating. And they went, and I think I'd cooked a similar meal that I'd cooked just recently, which was kidney beans, mince, mixture of veggies, rice, and to like a bit of like a tomato sauce type of deal. Right, still pretty basic, but in comparison to what I used to eat, maybe a little bit of a difference because this person, they called it out to me and they were like, "Whoa, Juan, you've changed. You're obviously eating better." And I've now been eating this way. Better? Well, because what I used to eat there and what they saw me eat was my typical, let's just call it afternoon snack meal, which was a can of baked beans with a can of tuna mixed in. That was my snack meals, dude. I used to eat this. I warm it up. So I put a can of tuna, like a big can of tuna.
Did you even take it out of the cans? Or
I took them out of the cans, plopped them into a box, heated it until it was like melting, and just ate it, dude. Just straight up ate it. And people were like, "What are you doing? You're mental." But again, in my mind, I was like, this is just straight consumption. I'm just going to eat it. And at the time, and I guess I didn't realize this either. Like I was like, why does my stomach hurt sometimes? I'm like, well, of course, one, you subhuman. Of course it is because you're eating just absolute garbage in the way that I was eating. So I think a lot of that, like that's the precursor, of course. Now we are up to today, probably in a better stage in terms of wanting food to taste better, but probably being healthier. But I think similarly now, my future is, okay, how do I start aligning my eating to the lifestyle I guess I want? So I think my pathway now with food is, okay, get it to a stage that I can cook in an amicable way for a future family, in the sense of, okay, the food I'm going to make, it's not going to be spat out on the ground because it tastes terrific. So I think I'm getting to that point and make it varied because I think variety in life's a good thing. Although in my current lunches, folks, I don't vary my food at all. It's, 4 or 5 meals of like the same type of meal. It's slightly better than, baked beans and tuna, but it's still very typical. People get bored of it. So I think I've got to add the variety of lights, spice it up a little bit. Okay. Doesn't have to be too much. But I think predominantly now is going to be focused on less on how important it is to my training outputs, if you want to say it. So for a lot of time, in the last couple of years, it has been around, okay, in the morning, after I train, have a pretty big meal. Then I'll have a slightly lower meal, and then the bigger meal in the afternoon, and try to mess around with the fats and the carbohydrates in this particular way, so it kind of works the most efficiently. And look, I can tell you from my perspective, I think because I wasn't at the highest levels of sportsmanship or lifting or whatever else, it's not like it make that much of a deal. I still progress over time, sometimes slower, sometimes faster. And I can't say that it ever really was because of food. So for me, I kind of went, okay, I think I want to start eating maybe more with the orientation of holistic. Okay, I want something that helps me keep focused, to not be tired at 3 p.m., to be a little bit more sharp, okay, to not have as much caffeine, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what it's starting to look like, I think I'll talk about it after doing some Boostagrams, but I think I've started to put a little bit of a structure on, okay, what does my future food look like moving into the future? Do you think that with your, so currently, to give people an idea, with the 1 meal a day, you cook that 1 meal a day, right? Do you think in your future you'd ever move into meal prepping at all with, say, a family? Do you envision meal prepping becoming a thing in your life?
Well, what do you mean by meal prepping?
Meal prepping is in, like, say, on a Sunday or a Monday, you might cook for a few days, for like multiple days.
Yeah. Well, I kind of do that already, but just without the family part. You know, when I cook stuff, it is usually a thing that'll last for 4 or 5 days, sort of deal. And then look, I make stuff on the day, like I make a salad.
Okay, then let me reverse it. Could you see yourself in a life where you don't meal prep like that?
Yeah, I don't think so. That's really hard. You have to really, I would say, actually really love food to do that.
Because I think I'm gonna find it hard too. And I guess maybe I thought for some reason that you were maybe more freshly cooking, but the reason I give this example is at most of what I've heard. So unless you meal prep, you're like at most, you're one of those people that are like, oh, I cook on a Monday dinner. And I'll have the leftovers on Tuesday, but then I'll cook dinner again on Tuesday, and then I'll have the leftovers on Wednesday.
Yeah, nah.
And I don't know if I can see myself doing that, but I also understand that that's probably the mentality of 90% of humans when you go to, you know, food prepping. Unless you're like really dedicated to food prepping. I just haven't come across a lot of people that food prep in that way of multiple days.
Yeah, it's just very time intensive. You know, you sort of have to be going out and buying groceries every couple of days with that sort of thing, because one, you probably want fresh ingredients, you want stuff that's not been in your
3 weeks old or something like that. Yep.
Stuff like that. And yeah, just in terms of washing up and cleaning, you know,
there's a level of efficiency that is lost in doing that.
A lot, yeah. And I for me personally, I don't ever see myself doing it, but man, if my future wife wants to do that, hey, we're good. Like, go ahead.
Please do so. That's what I mean. I've been with partners who love food intensely, and they do meal prep. They have meal prepped in the past, but also just really love cooking an absolutely fresh dinner and it tasting amazing and having that really good flavor to it. And I'm not at that level. I just know myself. I'm never going to be the person that push comes to shove, if I'm tired or whatever it may be, that I'm still going to go, yes, I love food so much that I'm going to cook. No, I'll eat a frozen food. I'll eat whatever because it's just, I've got to eat and that's what it is. I'm not going to care about that aspect of it.
Yeah. Let's get some stats coming in of people. Like if you create food every couple of days, a new dish every couple of days, send us a message and let us know if you do that, or if you do a bulk meal prep for
absolutely.
a week, because
because I hear this.
We're definitely a little bit
we're
not
definitely
the most normal topic
but,
people to talk on this topic.
But talking on like, say, a level of anxiety that it can bring. Because I've often heard this as well in the past, where people have gone to, hey, I want to cook a different meal or a couple of different meals through the week, whether it's dinners, whether it's for lunches. And undoubtedly, that same conversation always comes up, just like if you're going out for a dinner, what do we make? What should we make? Should it be a stew? Should it be this? Should it be that? And at least personally, I often think, man, if you're having to create 7 different meals in 1 week, I'm like, dude, that's like a level of mental energy output that I just don't want to have to deal with. I'm happy to just eat out food and then make like just simple, straightforward food that I know I can do. But some people want to take on that 7, 10. And I know I've experienced in the past being with people who are like that. I can never meet in the middle. I can't get there in the middle. It needs to be someone who is like a little bit more towards me on the level of, okay, kind of be flexible with the food, can eat a couple of things at the same time, doesn't have to enjoy food that much. I think I've at least
eating the occasional meal of baked beans
and tuna. I could still eat that if I had to, dude. I'll eat that the whole year. And I used to be like this. as my badge of honor. Used to be like,
you're
dude,
crazy, man.
I'll eat the same meal for a whole year, and I don't give an absolute toss. If I have people immortalize, if I had to be just like, you know what they say, like the challenge. It's a challenge. You have to like live on whatever, $5 a day,
Spartan food,
food, and it's like, it's rice and baked beans and tuna. Be like, oh man, how can I do it, dude? Easy. Dude, put me give me that and I'll keep my extra money.
I'll pay you to be able to do that.
Yeah, I'll pay you to buy that food, so that'll be my meal. So if I had to, 100%. Stoicism, food stoicism, I'm just not going to do that because I would already do it by proxy.
You're already
that's already my default. I've done it for many years.
Emperor level.
Marcus Aurelius has got nothing on me on my eating style, so that's the way it would roll.
Okay, well I've got one for you. So this is related to. So actually, you can answer this one. How much do you eat per day, like calorie wise? And let's extend this over the past 5 years, roughly on average, how much do you think you've been eating per day, calorie wise?
Man, I think if I had to spend it out the whole 5 years, I'd say somewhere along the lines of 3,500 to 4,000 calories. That'd be probably the average where it's at. More sometimes, less sometimes, depending on the day. But even now, I know for a fact, I know for a fact right now that roughly 3,800 to 4,000 calories is making me sit at baseline 85 point something kilos.
Yeah.
So for the last couple of weeks, I've been eating at that level. And I've just been holding steady, absolutely steady at 85.5 kilos. I can see, obviously, a little bit more, I'll go higher, a little bit less, I'll go lower, depending on the day, and just average it out. But looking back, it'd be about that. I've gone through states of very, very high eating. I've gone through states of lowish eating. I think the lowest I've ever eaten was around 2,100, 2,200 calories, and that was like absolutely torture. That was, oh my God, I'm not going to do this at all. But there has been days where I might have fasted, in a way, and eaten 2 meals and been about 2,000, 2,500. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So
Gotcha.
I think one thing though, I have trialed a bit of fasting, not a bit of fasting. I don't think I would ever be able to be a person that's going to do like 1 meal a day. Nah, that's not me at all. But I can see myself on occasions moving towards
skipping meals and
not even skipping meals. Just again, as you say, it's more about efficiency, the way of working in life, etc. So, but I think I'll talk into that a bit of like what my future thoughts are on eating as well.
Yeah, so, for sure. So for me, it was roughly about, if I look at my notes, it would probably average out about 2,500. But I know I'm deceiving myself slightly with those numbers, so it's probably added 10% onto that. I
was going to say, if you actually count sugar, have you been eyeing after Tim Tams in the fridge?
I didn't even know there were any.
2 packets of Tim Tams in there.
Man, I've been smashing down oranges and apples and mandarins lately. So I'm probably about high 2,000s would be my average, and that's to sort of maintain me at a 75-ish kilo weight.
Okay.
Yeah. Another one I wanted to ask was, maybe we'll do this one and then we'll go into the boostagrams, which is the nutrition and all the sort of other stuff surrounding food, i.e., do you care about micronutrients? Is this something you find useful and important? Do you care about even the macro stuff and proteins, making sure that you've already talked about eating foods at certain times and things like this. Every time that I've dived into it a little bit, I've come out finding, one, I haven't noticed any real changes for myself. 2, I don't care. Like, I don't find that stuff interesting. So never have I ever, eaten meals to optimize finding a certain, energy burst to hit at a particular time in the gym. Never tried to do that. And yeah, I'd be interested to know if micronutrients, supplementing for stuff that you might be lacking from your food, things like that, eating certain foods because they're beneficial for this particular thing. Have you ever found any of that works? Because I've come away from all of that going meh.
Definitely. I mean, food, and so food in its generality, like I've seen supplements where that's kind of been the case. Obviously, like intra workouts, pre-workouts, things like that. I have obviously experienced them. Food themselves, not to obviously the degree I think people are like, oh, it's the absolute, like, oh, wow, what a massive change. No, it's, if you have a banana before a workout, okay, and you have had nothing to eat, okay, that does feel like there is some kind of energy. Again, depends on the modality of workout that you're doing of the movement. So, you felt this when you went to get your 3-quarter marathon run, right? Perhaps if you were eating a lot of magnesium or food, like it had a lot of magnesium and the like, or potassium.
You're talking about my calves.
Yeah, exactly. So
dying.
Perhaps if you had like a lot of food and a lot of carbohydrates behind it with salts and yeah, maybe it wouldn't, maybe it wouldn't have. But obviously there are aspects of that I will for sure. Like that's absolute certainty. How much you would feel it on a day-to-day basis, or not on the extreme levels, maybe not so much. Because I've similarly, even from my workouts, I've seen that I've waned away from when I was about 22, 23, I would have a pre-workout, an intra-workout, a post-workout. I might have a casein before bed, so supplements and food. I've been eating a lot. And sure, my training was great. Now I'm older, and yes, I do tend to feel maybe more sore, but look, that's also age. That's also training a lot of times, maybe training heavy. But now, there's many a time that I'll wake up and just have water, like just have water and work out and not eat till midday. And okay, kind of fine. It's like not too much difference. And maybe if there is, it's, 1% or 2, which now I don't really care about. I'm like, okay, if I'm squatting 200 instead of 205, okay, don't really care in that particular session. It's like, it's still heavy. Awesome. That's fine. So if you're doing, I would assume it'd be similar if you were doing just walking or other movements that are not super, maybe of high intensity, you might not notice those, Matt, because the mitochondrial energy is not being utilized in the same way. It's a different type of energy. So whatever else. Do I care really that much about micronutrients in the end of it?
Obviously not, because you're eating tuna.
No, I'm not caring that much about the micronutrients, but I guess a slight look into the future. One thing I do want to start doing a bit more, and I know that Nick Blair, and if you can go and find out his interview that I did on the podcast with the was a long time ago, you have to go into like the hidden ones because it's one of those like hidden ones on our old site, but you can't find it on Spotify as well and all the rest of the audio casts. But Nick started his own company called Midnight Health, and they are one arm. I don't know if they've already started it or if it's incoming. Right. So anyways, I'm vouching for Midnight Health, but if Midnight Health is not available, then you can go from a lot of different places. In any case, they do one of those food mapping sort of styles, or like biomapping. So you can actually like send through a bit of DNA or a bit of blood, whatever it may be, and they'll map you to, okay, you will have an affinity to this type of food, or you will have detrimental for your gut biome or whatever it may be if you eat this type of food. That's probably more where I want to get to. So it's not specifically caring about all of the details that come to micronutrients. Like I'm not going to go and trace down my exact iron every month, and I'm not one of those people that's going to put a glucose monitor on my arm to know what my glucose is doing every day. People do that for sure. Yeah. What's his name? The guy who wants to live for a really long time. Dave Asprey.
Yes.
So like Dave Asprey put like a glucose monitor like 10 years ago on himself to see what his glucose readings are doing every day. Look, I'm not about that level, but what I would want to know is, okay, well, what food generally works for me better? Cool. What food doesn't work for me? Awesome. And then just try to fit it around a healthy lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I can't even find where this thing is.
The Nick Blair one?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it might be
like
in the depth of YouTube.
It's not in my normal folder section of where
Is it even searchable for the Model Lads? Like, can you actually just search it on YouTube, or not even that?
I probably could, yeah. Well, it depends. If it's in that hidden section, no, it won't show up. But I just went through that, so unless you didn't add it to the playlist of old conversations, that's the only thing I can think of. But I didn't see it pop up just then. I'll include a link for those who are curious in the actual bio, and also on your chapter art for this section right here.
Yeah. All right, can we look into Boostagram? There's some comments there from listeners.
Peter had one comment which he wanted to know, and this was with regards to, first thing he said, is life even worth living without good food? Okay. I would say yes. Because
I would go with yes too.
I could live a good life without.
I could live a life with baked beans and tuna, dude.
Yeah. Now, would people from the outside think that's a good life or a great life? Maybe not.
Maybe not.
As long as I'm kind of happy, that's fine enough. You actually missed out on a couple of Boostagrams from the previous week, so just
I did.
Yeah. So I'll bring them up here as well, just so we make sure that we call out those people. I don't like missing people. Now there was two. I think it was Floydian Slips and Danny Gamb1310, who said he just said good, and then sent 5 sats. And Floydian Slips was talking. I don't remember what I had for breakfast, but I remember where I was when 9/11 happened. Like it was well after breakfast, I guess. There was a time when MSM, so that's mainstream media, was trusted. Never forget the context of an event, or the memory will be tainted. So that was just with regards to our sort of like hypothetical living in history that I'd come up with.
Correct.
For this week, you should be starting from the 17th. If you can...
From the 17th, I think the 18th, because we read out those 17th, I think, live.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, yeah.
Alrighty. So we'll go from the 18th. Okay, so we've got a couple here. I'm going to read them through. So, first of all, welcome to the lounge. Boostagram Lounge.
Boostagram Lounge.
We've got Danigamb1310. 2 lightning bolts. 5 sats. Sent using fountain.
Nice.
We've got another one from Danny. 1 sat. One lightning bolt. 5 sats.
Yeah.
Sent using fountain.
Damn, man. We're obviously our contents are going downhill if we're only getting 1 lightning bolt.
1 lightning bolt, exactly. Oof. Then a big boy 10,000 sats sent using fountain from Brando Sellers. He says, thanks for the mention on the leaderboard. I have to step up my boost game up.
Yeah, they've got a pretty cool section actually. Because I reached level 3 of their section of their Sleek Freaks.
Oh, yep.
He invited me over to the Sleek Freaks leaderboard, the members area. So I hope it's okay, but I'm going to give a sneak peek.
I think give it a sneak peek.
You're
sharing the screen already?
Yeah. He let me. He created a video showing this sort of stuff anyway, so it's kind of here. So he's got like his members area, early access Seek merch behind the scenes. So that's kind of cool stuff. Like if you go behind the scenes, he's got sections from the latest episodes where they were just having some sort of like kind of like what we do for the live podcast.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's kind of, once again, it's sort of the Patreon type thing, and it's kind of like hiding stuff behind a paywall because you need to access that level. I don't particularly mind, for me, it's just kind of a cool thing. It's like, oh, hey, whatever. But as I keep doing the Value for Value podcast, I find out, people doing all their own ways, doing however they want. Some people give it everything and more. Some people are using maybe a hybrid model and things like that. So yeah, it's just whatever you feel is good. So yeah, cool little section they got. So thank you very much, Brando.
Just a quick one there. I see submit comment.
Oh, they spelled that wrong as well. They had another one, which early eel array. That's all right.
Well, but it's good. I do enjoy it.
I told him about. I'll have to tell him about that one as well. But yeah, very cool. The sleek podcast. If you want some freaky sleekness.
Very good. All right. Thank you very much, Brando Sellers. We got 2 more. One from Dave Jones. Now this one's again sent through using cron. Have we figured out what cron is again?
What cron stands for? Yeah. I'm actually not too sure. Hey,
but again, it's 12,112 sats sent using cron. My weekly boost for the mere Mortal Light Nation. Thank you very much, Dave.
Yeah.
Always appreciate it.
Cheers, Dave. I'm actually not sure if that's meant to be monthly because I think it's only come through once a month.
There you go. Karen's calling you out, Dave. Thoughts?
Yeah.
See what he thinks. And then the last one here, Petar with 25,000 sats.
Oh, Peter, you're generous.
So using fountain.
Generous son of a bitch.
Now he says, I boil my Keynesian economics counter argument down to its bloody immoral to steal purchasing power from savers by inventing new money to increase the velocity of money. It's not a random coincidence. The same people who have the authority to invent money happen to be obscenely wealthy. Bankers are stealing from you and paying themselves first.
Yeah, so that was in reference to talking about Bitcoin. First thing, it's really weird. I keep saying it wrong, but it's Keynesian, even though it's spelled
Keynesian,
N-E-S.
Yeah. Keynesian.
Man, I keep going back and forth on this. Have you seen that comment that Stasia left on the book review I did on the? It's really worth checking out. I told her I'd show it to you. She makes some really good points as to points I hadn't really heard of before of why it's not great to think of Bitcoin as the best money ever in terms of its properties wise and things like that. So yeah, it's good to get balanced views on that sort of stuff. So it's a big comment, man. You probably won't have time to.
Are you talking about this one?
I assume so. Is that on the Bitcoin?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I think so. I think there was a couple other points as well. Anyway, read it later, man. It's a big one. Read it later.
I'm reading it right now, folks. No, okay, cool. That's a good one. But yes, Thank you very much, Pete. Any comment against Petar's there?
No, that's all good. So let's get back into the
Good. Thank you very
the
much,
good
Peter.
stuff. And yeah, very
lounge.
much appreciated, Peter. Thank
As
you.
always. Good. Okay. Let's get back into it. The last bit I just wanted to talk about really was what does the future of food look like for you imminently? Is there any changes that you're making in the short term right now from your food, meal prepping, or anything else that might surprise me or the mere mortalites, or is it just standard as is?
Not particularly. So when I suppose maybe one thing to mention would be, what I've already said, I don't optimize for anything. It's not like I'm going, really jacking up the amount of hours of workouts this week. I'm going to have to compensate by carb loading and, reducing this thing, ensuring fats reach this No, I'm not doing any of that. I kind of eat what I want. The main factor is just getting the rough amount, calories in, calories out, right? Everything else other than that doesn't particularly matter. So my general thing is vegetables in general are good. Try and put more of that in. Fruit in general is maybe not as good as vegetables because it's got like a lot of fructose. Try and stay as much away from the refined stuff as possible. So now, do I do that all the time? No, because I love sweets and I love chips. but they're not the bulk of my food either.
Are you at a point that you are going to start buying organic meat, free-range meat, grass-fed beef meat, that sort of thing, in terms of moving towards a healthier, or you're like, I don't care, I'm going to buy the cheapest meat I'm going to available?
No, that's kind of one of those, it would be awesome to do that, but do I want to spend that amount of money? Do I want to spend that amount of time ensuring this is actually a quality cut and this, this farmer is doing ethical things and he's not just saying that it's grass-fed when he's actually adding in a little bit. Look, there's benefits to diving into healthier stuff for a while, but will I ever? Maybe I could sort of see myself growing my own food one day, like small little things in a little garden pot, maybe. But
you heard it here first. Me and Modeline's Karen's going to be growing literally mushrooms. That's all he's going to be growing, just straight up mushrooms. Green thumb over here.
I'll survive on 8 grams of psilocybin per day.
Dude, did you just be wild? Yeah, look, to be honest, my core concept, I think, moving forward, predominantly one is, from Dave Asprey's book about whatever it's called, super health or superhuman. Yeah, superhuman. Just around, first of all, just trying to avoid the big 4 killers, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and blanking on the other one. Or whatever the other one is. Obviously not as important for me. I can figure it out. But, predominantly, like a lot of those are...
Alzheimer's again?
Yeah, Alzheimer's again. Yeah, I've already got it. But it's a doubling up of a couple of those things in terms of, yes, sleeping and a few other things are big factors into it. And we're talking food here in particular, but, doing a bit more research into things like, okay, how much of an excess of sugar and refined foods does play in things like Alzheimer's and cardiovascular disease and diabetes, right? One of the big misnomers I think I had when I was growing up was with diabetes in particular, going, okay, well, I'm not fat, so I can't I can't get diabetes if I'm not fat. Wrong, people, wrong. That's not how it works. Like, you can 100% be diabetic if you're eating too much sugar in your life, and the way that it interacts with your body, you can become diabetic easily. And then there's obviously the problems that come along with that. Now, I'm not playing a doctor on the internet, and I never will be because I'm not a doctor, nor do I know enough to talk about this sort of stuff. But
I don't even know how to use the internet.
Listening to a lot of people who are way smarter and who talk about it, I think I'm just trying to create my own views on, okay, is it worth eating grass-fed over grain-fed? The more I see it, I go, yes, it is. It is worth it. Can everyone afford it? Hell no. It's expensive, and it's going to get more expensive. But I go, okay, if I can afford it, then I'm going to go down that pathway. I guess it's the choices for me now of, okay, do I eat 2 boxes of Tim Tams over an extent, a week or 2 weeks? Absolutely. I can do that. It fits within, health boundaries and still being enjoyable. Exactly. But
just come out.
It's also being like, okay, if I'm going to eat the same amount of meat and I'm going to be eating a similar meal every single week, day in, day out for 10 years, okay, over 10 years is going to be more benefit. Like, is it going to be a substantial difference to be eating only grass-fed over grain-fed and, whatever else comes into play because of through that supply chain and the pipeline? Okay, maybe it is. And I guess that's where I'm at the moment. Doing a little bit of figuring out so that, eventually, and looking at now, like really long-term stuff, I can happily eat the way that I'm eating, whichever way that is determined, that is in a, not in some crazy alienating way, but in a fun way that I'm like, okay, I can eat like this till I'm 100 and still be absolutely feeling totally fine. There's certain aspects I'm finding now in the new job that I'm in where it starts to get to about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and dude, I'm so tired. Like, I'm totally tired, like falling asleep tired. And I was trying to figure out whether it was, is it a case of food? Is it a case of I'm looking at a screen for a long time? I'm finally doing work. Yeah. What level of this? What level of things is that it's causing me to be tired? And I think a big aspect is food because I'm eating this particular foods that I'm eating and I'll go, I'll just go have some rice or something like that. And then I can totally tell that difference of just almost, oh no, I actually need sugar. I'll have a little bit of sugar, like a juice. And man, it's like a completely different difference. It's a complete difference. So there's aspects of, professionally, personally, okay, what do I want to arrange my food eating habits so that it works well in some of the short term, especially with some training. I'd still want it to be like a healthy performance in the short term, but probably looking at more of, okay, long term, how is it going to work effectively that I can continue to do this for 50, 70 years? Because I guess that's what I'm trying to establish now in the coming years, I feel like, especially whether it's on my own, with family, with friends, whatever it may be, that it just kind of fits into play. What that looks like, I don't know, but that's the establishing point that I'm in now.
Yeah, there's one little sum up thing I want to say was what I've noticed just over my, let's just say, last 15 years, I guess, is when I've actually cared about food and, sort of been making my own and things like that. What I've noticed is the more my lifestyle is going to I'm making like sacrificial lifestyle changes, whether it's out of stupidity, like in university when I would stay up really late until 3 a.m. and be, I don't know, either cramming, studying, or not that I did this all the time, but a lot of time I would be staying up quite late, watching anime or random shit, just filtering away the time. Whether it was that, whether it was something a bit more enforced, like when I used to work out in the mines, and so I would have some pretty wild shift work there was a period there on vacation work, and then when I had the main job that I had was very strict, sort of 7 a.m. till roughly 6 p.m. 9 days a fortnight sort of thing. What I noticed was, I think in those times food choices were much more important. And I think it was to compensate for having a lifestyle which was not great in other aspects. Sleep wasn't great. Exercise wasn't being done at optimal times. Posture, sitting in front of a laptop hunched over, screen light coming at you, all those sorts of things, I think it sort of made the food more important. So then I would notice, if I eat a little bit better for a while, or if I eat a little bit worse for a while, it makes a much more of a difference. Whereas last year when I had all those food challenges I set up for myself. So for those who don't know, I basically was trying to do something new every single month. So a bunch of the months were going on extended fasts. So like
extended fast, vegan.
Vegan.
Reduce sugar percentages.
Reduce sugar for a bunch of time. So eating, when I say zero sugar, I meant zero kind of refined sugar. Getting it from fruit was fine. And doing those, I've also tried.
Did you do carnivore?
Never did carnivore, which I'm kind of thankful. I did paleo, vegetarian, vegan. I think those were the main ones that I tried. What I noticed out of all of that was nothing particular physiologically. I wouldn't say I came out of 1 month feeling great. I wouldn't say I came out of 1 month feeling worse either.
Although you didn't enjoy the vegan one.
Yeah, that was more psychologically. It was just psychologically, it was hard to do, actually get the ingredients. I had to go out of my way to find, a new recipe to create
cook something,
that's, I don't know, at least somewhat fun to eat, rather than just
tofu,
or a plain salad or something like that. I also did what was the keto. I also did try keto for a while. All of those for a month. And yeah, look, all I can say from all of those experiences was it didn't matter that much. And I think it's just because I had pretty much everything else in my life sort of in the lifestyle that I wanted. It was all that shit was optimal, and so food choices and changes, it didn't make me feel any much healthier than normal. Now, I'm more than a mere mortal. I've got amazing abilities to ingest any food that I want. So I could, maybe it's just I've got like an amazing body, amazing digestion, things like that. I'm not discounting people with autoimmune diseases or lactose intolerances and things like that. Yeah, obviously, probably food choice is a lot more important for those. But just for me, all I've noticed is the better my lifestyle got, the less important it was to eat healthy at least in a short time period. So maybe if I just eat cookies for a year, okay, maybe it's going to create some things.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to leave it at that for this musings. Unless there's any other comments in there that we want to respond to.
No, we've been a little bit. It was only Peter on the chat today, and I got to apologize to him because I wasn't paying him enough attention, because when it's just you in the chat, it's not that much fun. So
that's true. That is true.
Two things I need to do: pay more attention if it's only him, but more importantly, make sure I get other people to join.
To jump in. Well, you did remind your brother to jump in. I did remind someone else to join, but they couldn't join today.
Yeah. Shit happens.
In any case, I hope you have enjoyed, at least Peter watching it live. But for anyone else watching this live afterwards, I hope you enjoyed listening in to the musings today around food. I think the summary of it all is, look, to be honest, we don't really give a shit predominantly that much about food. But
it's pretty close to it.
But I do care. I do care about making it fit the lifestyle that I want to live for the rest of my life in as simple way as possible that fits with general human society. So I think I'm getting there. But you will never see us mere mortalites be the ones who are like, mere mortals cooking show. Yeah. That's never going to happen.
You have to try this meal.
Never. We will never say that to you ever. We might be like, it was a great restaurant. You'll never be like, a really good recipe. It's this. Like, you'll find me at best cooking a dessert once a year.
Yeah. You need to get this particular. You should only get heirloom tomatoes because all other tomatoes are trash.
There's someone who had tried to have a conversation with me about they wanted to buy a specific cracker, like pepper cracker, because it cracks the pepper better. And I was like, I cannot tell you how separated away.
I just eat the peppercorns.
Yeah, I don't know how separate you are from here. I will. I'll grind them in my esophagus rather than like crack them in anything. I was like, dude, there's no worth talking to me about this. There's just nothing. So, but in any case, if you found any value from this podcast at all, be immortalized, you can always support us on the Value for Value channel, or the Value for Value philosophy. Now, I'm going to recommend, of course, going to any of the Podcasting 2.0 apps, but the one that we do recommend, which seems to be pulling ahead really quite nicely, is the Fountain app. So if you haven't checked it out, go check out Fountain. Go see if you can find your friendly mere mortalites out there, the friendly mere mortals podcasts, and invite any of the other friends and mere mortalites out there to come and join in and try out sending through a boostagram. We called out a few things. Do you meal prep? Do you find that you have any enjoyment? What's your from 1 to 10 food enjoyment? Is it high? Is it low? Kind of like us. We would love to know. But for now, we sort of leave it at that. We hope you have enjoyed the podcast today for the musings. For now, that is all. One out.
Turn out.
Bye.
Ciao.
Croissants.
Croissants.
How do you say croissant in German?
I haven't learnt that.
What do they teach you on food? Are they taught any food?
Yeah. Apparently Germans are obsessed with asparagus. So Spargel.
Asparagus?
Yeah, Spargel.
Spargel.
So I've learned Spargel.
Spargel.
Just the general stuff. Meat, Fleisch.
Is it meat?
Chicken,
meat's Fleisch.
Fleisch.
Fleisch and
Spargels. Well, another one is, which I find really funny, is chicken is Hähnchen. Hähnchen. And then ham is Schinken.
Like,
fucking
come
assholes.
on.
Just switch those two words around and it's all
ham
good.
is Schinken.
Yeah, Schinken. And then chicken is Hähnchen.
Like, come on. Dude, it's like, I hate the things like in French. In French, Is it?
Peter, do you speak French out of interest?
Tu parlais un petit français?
Hey.
J'ai parlé un petit. Do you, Peter?
Well, he could have already gone. But
Comment tu t'appelles, Peter? Je m'appelle Juan. J'ai habité en Australie. Je travaille en Atio.
what was all that?
I live in Australia. No, my name's Juan. I live in Australia. I work at the ATO.
Nice. How
It's
do
a couple of other
you
things.
say Australian tax office in French?
I don't know how to say. I don't know how to say taxation office actually.
Peter says non, which means
Non, which
yes.
means no.
That means
No,
yes,
non.
because he's saying it in
True.
French.
Oui. Oui.
I see you there, Peter. I'm on to you.
How
So
is it?
Obviously from not the
Tu
French
es
speaking.
Peter. Tu habites Canada. I don't know how to say Canada. Whatever.
No idea.
Whatever, maybe. Anyways, that's it. Thank you very much, Peter, for joining us. Anyways,
Yeah,
thanks
and
for tuning
everyone
around
else.
as always.
Thanks, Pete. We'll catch you soon, man. If you feel like chatting, just go into the. I speak French at a grade 4 level. It's probably better than you one.
Way better than me, dude. I'm on Duolingo level 2.
Not even that high. If anyone feels like coming or you're watching this now in the future, I hang around the Discord chat for a good hour afterwards while I'm editing. So if you feel like chatting more directly with me and actually me concentrating on the chat, feel free to join in there. Other than that, peace.